Ryan Thompson, do you know any good websites for getting World War II information? My great-grandfather passed away shortly after the war ended, and no one in the family has any stories or knew what he did. So yeah, World War II information, unfortunately, is kind of difficult. It's a lot. It's not quite as straightforward as a lot of people would think it is, being so recent. A big part of that has to do with the fact that in the 1970s, I think it was 1973, at the public records, the Personnel Records Office, or what, the PROMC, I think it is. Could be wrong on that. Basically, there was this this archive building that held all these records, and there was a fire, and it destroyed a large amount of the personnel records for people who served in World War II. It's possible that your grandfather's or your great-grandfather's was not destroyed in that fire. Unlikely. But it means that you have to do a lot of roundabout research. The best information that you can get is usually stuff that you need to get through FOIA requests, which nowadays they've made it really easy thanks to Reclaim the Records. They have this site that they put out, which I actually talk about in I think, is it my most recent or my second most recent YouTube video on the main channel about Max Miller's World War II ancestry, his grandfather's service, and then service of his cousins. And basically, this site helps you do a FOIA request for these records, what's known as C files. And so these files will contain all sorts of information, but basically it's, I guess you can get into depth here in this section all about this website and what's available and all of that. But it could be one of the best places to get truly a good idea of what happened. The other thing to do is trying to get any records, like enlistment records or whatever, that might tell you what unit he served in, which these C files hopefully would. And then once you know what unit that he served in, then you can start looking into unit specific history. And depending on the unit, there might be a lot. There are some units, think like Easy Company of the 101st Airborne. That's one that tons of people know about. It's been researched like crazy. And because of that, all of the materials that the veterans had that were part of that unit, a lot of that was digitized and kept and really kept sacred and things like that. And so there's a ton that people know about that unit. There are other units, like the unit that Max Miller's grandfather served in, where there is very little information about what they did, and trying to find that was near impossible because it was just a unit that didn't make a whole lot of waves necessarily. It was a hospital that was behind the front line, or, well behind the front lines. And, it was a fairly safe place that, they did great work, but it was just, it was a good hospital. And so there's not a lot of history on that. So for me, when I did that video, it was a lot of research just to get a little bit of information. So that's what I would suggest. But in terms of like a website, a direct website, the only one I could really say right off the bat would be Fold3, which is an Ancestry website. And technically, if you search through Ancestry, Fold3 stuff will come up, but you have to have a Fold3 membership to be able to see it. So that could be a place to get some of the stuff to help you get into the more in-depth research, basically finding records that say the unit that he served with, and maybe getting some other tidbits of information. The other thing I would say is looking at just the Veterans Association information. There's the master index cards, which aren't the easiest to get. You have to, it's not difficult. You basically just send an email to them, say, here's the cards that I want. Please let me know how to receive them. And they usually just email them to you. But those cards, some of them are not digitized very well. They are not.